reward being offered for information in a fatal hit and run. Kevin Coleman is in and we'll have your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update. Donna Lang will also join us later to take a look back on this day in history and to preview our HAN Network newspapers out today. But first, the family of a 32-year-old man hit and killed on I-84 over the weekend is offering a reward for information. Now, the family of Daniel Crawford Jr. is offering $5,000 to the individual that can provide information leading to the arrest and conviction of the persons responsible for his death. Now, Daniel was killed following a hit-and-run crash that occurred April 7th on I-84 westbound near Exit 2 in Danbury. That accident occurred around 1 in the morning. Now, anyone who thinks they may have any information is asked to please contact the Connecticut State Police. You can reach them at 203-267-2200. They say all calls will remain confidential. And in Darien, a Midbrook Lane resident reported 2 wristwatches missing from his home following a family vacation. Now, the victim told police that he had been away with his family from March 14th to March 20th, but realized that the watches, one of which is valued at more than $10,000, were missing on April 5th. Now, according to the police, the victim's home had been on the market, bringing several visitors to that residence during the last few weeks. Now, one of those watches was valued at over $11,000, while the other had a negligible value. Now, nothing else was missing from the home, and there were no signs of a burglary. Darien police say an investigation is ongoing. And in other news, Greenwich police report that a Baltimore man was charged with walking around naked at the J House Hotel in Greenwich and touching himself in an inappropriate manner. Now, 35-year-old Quinton Alston Spratt of Baltimore was charged with disorderly conduct around 8:30 a.m. Wednesday. Now, police said he was walking naked near the hotel gym where several guests were exercising at the time. Now, after his arrest, he was released on a $100 bail. And Wilton resident Stephen Simmons was sentenced April 3rd in Manhattan federal court to 37 months in prison for his involvement in a Ponzi scheme. Now, Jeffrey Berman, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, said that between 2013 and January 2017, Simmons, who's 49 years old, solicited more than $6 million in investments for a hedge fund and then misappropriated nearly $2 million of those funds for his own use and that of a co-conspirator. Now, Simmons pled guilty before U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Moses on October 30th, 2017. Now, Berman said in part that Stephen Simmons lied to investors about how their money would be used and what returns they could expect. He used investor funds for his own personal use, including the purchase of a house, and he provided other investors funds for use in paying back earlier investors. Now, among other false and misleading statements that Simmons made, he told one investor, a single mother of 3 children whose sole source of income was an alimony payment received in a recent divorce, that her capital would be invested with the hedge fund in securities and that she would receive a return of at least 15% on that investment. Well, contrary to those representations, Simmons actually stole much of her investment, using $700,000 of that money within 2 months to buy a house in Wilton, and then wiring $700,000 to the personal account of a co-conspirator. More on that story at wiltonbulletin.com. And in Stratford, the razing of the former Center Street School building will begin soon, with the Town Council officially selecting a firm to tear it down. Now, Town Council members voted 7-2 at Monday's regular meeting to hire Standard Demolition Services of Trumbull for the abatement and demolition of that former school at 55 Sutton Avenue. Now, the town will pay Standard Demolition over $730,000. The town will use part of the Brownfield grant funding obtained 2 years ago to remediate, abate, and demolish Center School. Now, it's not clear when Standard Demolition will start its work. Now, councilors had voted in January to commence with the demolition. Debate on what to do with that former school has raged on for years, with some preferring to keep it standing for possible renovation and eventual reopening as a school. But some town officials, including former Mayor John Harkins, say the building is no longer useful as a school and should be turned into something for the transit-oriented development district, as it is close to the Metro North Railroad station. More on that story at StratfordStar.com. And in New Canaan, shaming dog walkers to pick up their pet's poop has had limited success in Irwin Park. So the next idea is to use cameras throughout the park to track the offenders and have New Canaan police then issue tickets with penalties. Well, New Canaan Parks and Recreation Commission members Francesca Sagalis and Sally Campbell reported at their group's monthly meeting April 11th that they've talked to Police Chief Leon Krolikowski about enforcing the carryout policy. And he said that cameras can be used and tickets can be mailed to those offenders. Now, the idea is still in its early discussion phase, according to Campbell. Now, there have been no decisions to formally propose it, but there have been some talk about how it might work. Now, according to Campbell, cameras around the parking lots would record images of persons with their car, and other cameras would be hidden alongside the walking paths, and then they would record images of dogs pooping and then whether the humans pick it up or leave it behind. Well, a town employee, possibly a police officer whose job it is to review the poop video recordings, would review the images, find the human offenders who leave their bags behind on the ground, and match those persons with their car registration plates and determine the mailing address for that person on the car registration and then mail them a ticket. Now, Sagalis reported that never before has New Canaan police issued tickets for dog poop policy violations. Well, there's much more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. But let's take a turn now, throw it over to Kevin Coleman for a look at your forecast. Kevin.
Thank you, Kate. We have warm weather coming in the forecast, but we have to get through today first. A mix of sun and clouds during the morning hours this morning will give way to cloudy skies this afternoon. A slight chance of some rain showers as well in the later afternoon hours, a high of 57. And tonight, partly cloudy skies, a low of 49. And we look to tomorrow, Friday. What a way to kick off the weekend. A high of 73 tomorrow and mostly cloudy. Friday night, we'll get low around 55, and on Saturday, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 74, but it looks like a little bit of a tease here as Friday and Saturday will be in the 70s as we go back into the early part of next week, go down to the 50s. That'll do it for your weather update. Kate, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Kevin, and we're going to step out for a break. Come back. Donald Eng will have your look back on this day in history. Kevin has your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have more local news after this.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. SCAP Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Family owned and operated for over 50 years. Call, click, or stop in today. Save thousands right now at the Spring Sales Event, now through April 30th.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Base Star and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Welcome back to this April 12th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. Time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng. Don.
Well, a couple of presidential political events today to look at, but first we're going to go all the way back to 1204. The Crusaders of the Fourth Crusade breached the walls of Constantinople and spent the next few days burning and looting the city. Now, there had been sectarian violence between the city's Catholic and Orthodox populations, and the Crusaders took it upon themselves to settle the score. The Byzantine Empire never really recovered and was left much too weak to fend off the ensuing Turkish conquest over the next couple of centuries, which is why Constantinople went from being the largest Christian city in Europe to being the largest Muslim city in Europe. You can thank the Crusaders of the Fourth Crusade. 1861, the Battle of Fort Sumter begins the Civil War. Confederate forces fire on the fort in the harbor of Charleston, South Carolina. The state had seceded a few months earlier and demanded all U.S. military personnel leave the city. Believe it or not, in the 34-hour bombardment, exactly 0 soldiers killed by cannonballs. Following the battle, Abraham Lincoln called for a 75,000-man volunteer army to put down the rebellion. That then led to the secession of Arkansas, Tennessee, Virginia, and North Carolina, bringing the total of Confederate states to 11. Speaking of Arkansas, on this date in 1999, President Bill Clinton cited for contempt of court for giving intentionally false statements in a civil lawsuit. He is later fined and disbarred. Now, we know that Bill liked to split hairs with definitions, and this may have been the most brazen. In the Paula Jones lawsuit, the legal teams had agreed on a very precise definition of sexual relations, essentially a list of body parts that constituted sex if you made contact with them. And under that definition, Clinton and his lawyers decided that Bill had not had sex with Monica Lewinsky. Monica had sex with Bill, but that wasn't exactly what he was asked. Now, was it? You can read between the lines there. The judge didn't buy it. Neither did the Arkansas Bar Association, which suspended him for 5 years. Finally, now we go to 1945 in Georgia for this.
This nation has suffered this day a staggering loss. At this moment at Warm Springs, Georgia, President Franklin D. Roosevelt lies with the problems of the nation finally lifted from his shoulders, stricken late this afternoon with cerebral hemorrhage. He passed away before his physicians could be of any assistance, if assistance in such a case is possible at all. Vice President Harry Truman, who from here on will be President Truman, went immediately to the White House. A special cabinet meeting was called, and we should know more about what is going to happen in Washington as the evening wears on.
In 1945, President Franklin Roosevelt dies in office. Harry S. Truman becomes president. Now, the official cause of death was listed as a stroke brought on by overwork, but the 63-year-old Roosevelt had been diagnosed with serious heart disease a few years earlier. Roosevelt's death started a debate over how much exactly medical privacy a person running for high office is entitled to. That debate persists to this day. That is your look back in history for today, April 4th, and I'm Donald Ng.
Thanks so much, Don, and we'll see you a little later to preview our front pages. But in other local news, on Saturday, April 7th, Monroe volunteer firefighters participated in a specialized man-and-machine rescue course, which is designed to educate rescuers in extricating persons from unique and difficult scenarios. Now, according to Monroe Volunteer Fire Department Lieutenant John Greger, the machinery rescue training is a vital skill to firefighters because there are several industrial and manufacturing facilities in town. Now, other techniques that they trained on included removal of a wedding ring and removal of a child's head stuck in a railing. Now, Greger said that the firefighters did very well during the day, and firefighters honed their skills and learned several new and advanced techniques. And Easton Selectman Robert Lessler has proposed a firearms ordinance in Easton that would prohibit shooting within 500 feet of an occupied building without the owner's written permission and carrying or shooting a weapon on municipal property. Now, the proposed ordinance also would ban possession of an assault weapon anywhere in town and prohibit target, trap, and skeet shooting except at duly organized shooting clubs or ranges, as well as locations approved by the Chief of Police and the Board of Selectmen. Now, it would establish restrictions on minors using weapons and require that firearms be kept in a securely locked box constructed of steel or similar material within a home unless being carried by people or kept close to them. Now, Lessler, who's the lone Democrat on the 3-member board, said that he was motivated to offer the proposal by the high school shooting in Parkland, Florida, and a renewed interest in gun safety legislation. Now, Lessler listed 8 Connecticut municipalities with similar legislation, from more urban ones like Meriden to more rural like Weston, and said that these ordinances have existed for decades in some cases. More on that ordinance at aspetuck.news. And Eversource's construction project bringing natural gas into New Canaan homes and schools officially began yesterday, April 11th, on Southwood Drive near Gower Road. Now, that work, weather permitting, will last through mid-May and affect about 10 streets. Now, for the full work schedule and the streets that will be affected, you can visit ncadvertiser.com. And in other news, over the past 10 years, the Trumbull High School mock trial program has been quietly building a dynasty. And on Wednesday, March 7th, at the Connecticut Supreme Court, it solidified its status when it won the Connecticut High School Mock Trial Championship for a record 4th time. Now, since its inception in 2008, Trumbull has set the bar for success in Connecticut High School mock trial, advancing to the state championships 6 times and winning in 2013, 2014, 2017, and now 2018. Now, this year's team consists of seniors Andrew Koch, Gabby Kotkowski, and Sophia Otero, as well as juniors Emily Cardinale, Daniela Chuka, Alexander Coughlin, Megan Griffin, and Adele Marchenko. Now, mock trial is an academic competition sponsored by Civics First that pits high school students against one another inside of a courtroom playing out a legal drama. Now, in front of 5 presiding Connecticut Supreme Court justices, Trumbull knocked off its toughest rival, Weston High School, to secure the state championship. Much more on that story at TrumbullTimes.com. But let's throw it back to Kevin Coleman now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Kevin.
Thank you, Kate. We head to the Diamond for some FCIAC baseball yesterday. A busy day in FCIAC baseball. The Darien Blue Wave defeated the Trumbull Eagles 4-0 and were led by starting pitcher and captain Justin Jordan. Jordan went 6 innings, allowing only 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. The Wave were led offensively by Henry Williams, who went 2 for 4 with an RBI, and Sean O'Malley, went 1 for 2, 2 walks, and 2 RBIs. Looking across the rest of the scores and doubleheader between New Canaan and Greenwich, New Canaan took both games against the Cardinals. Staples took down Danbury 8-2. Ludlow defeated Brian McMahon 7-5. Richfield blanked Stanford 4-0. St. Joseph's defeated Trinity Catholic 17-3. West Hill took down Bridgeport Central 18-1, and Wilton escaped Norwalk, beating them 5-4. We will have boys lacrosse on the HCN Network this afternoon, live from Fairfield Ludlow High School, as Ludlow will host Conard at 4 p.m. That will do it for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Kate, back to you.
Thanks so much, Kevin. And we're going to step out for a break. When we come back, we're going to preview our front pages this week after this. Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
I've had Newtown Savings Bank my whole life. You don't have to worry about talking to a machine. You're talking to real people. You're getting real help. I'm banking local, and I'm loving it.
Voted Best Gourmet to Go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during Ram Truck Month, get up to $14,000 off on all in-stock 2017 Ram 1500 pickups. Come in and see us for details. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Ridgefield, PambyZone.com.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, joined today by Donald Ang, our Trumbull Times editor, to preview our front pages this week. Don, what are you looking at first?
Well, I have the Ridgefield Press, and one thing that jumps off the page at you is wildlife. First, we have the town looking for information on bobcat sightings in the area, but also the top story, deer hunting. Another vote on that issue in town. Ridgefield approved a town-wide deer hunt in 2006 by a vote of 531 to 194 at a meeting described as very well attended and hotly debated. They are now looking to revisit that issue there again. That would be a deer hunt on public property or town property. Private property and state land is not covered by the town, but again, wildlife really taking the news there in Ridgefield.
All right, and I'm looking at the Wilton Bulletin this week. Officer Kip Tarrant named Officer of the Year there. He's a veteran detective. Police sergeant also topping the town's pay list. That's always a popular story that our papers run is, you know, the salaries of all the town employees. And now the high school also seeing high override numbers. It's responding to a problem surrounding some student achievement in pre-calculus this year at Wilton High School, and a cluster of commercial sales on Route 7 in Wilton.
Okay, well, I have the Reading Pilot here, and it's a very big thing here. We have the dog park there. I'm sorry, dog park. The fire on Pocahontas Road in Reading. It broke out in a detached garage on Thursday. A significant fire and smoke damage. Of course, the volunteers always with a quick turnout there in Reading. So that's what you're looking at the Reading Pilot today.
All right, and looking at the Darien Times this week, a very cool photo of an osprey's nest. That's at Norotan Bay, and it's a welcome sign of spring. That photo by Lorene Valente. Also, the cafeteria rebuild at Darien High School having some early, possibly costly issues there. Also, officials discussing senior housing options in Darien, and Darien's librarian Blanche Parker has earned a state honor.
Well, I have the Milford Mirror in front of me, and a very nice story at the bottom of the page there. A Vietnam hero thanked for service to his country. House of Heroes organizes some repairs and upgrades to the home of Peter Falcione. Also, we have a state Senate candidate, Michelle Gregorio, a Republican, has announced her candidacy for the 14th Senate District. We have a superintendent search at Milford, one of the several towns looking for a new school superintendent, and Smooth Jazz, Jay Rowe, performing a benefit concert in the city of Milford. So jam-packed front page in the Milford Mirror.
Yes. All right. And looking at the Easton Courier this week, Easton police reporting stolen and burglarized cars, which we're seeing, of course, throughout the area. So more on that in this week's Easton Courier.
I have the New Canaan Advertiser here. We have a budget story, about a 2% tax increase. Republicans are also in the process of selecting their convention delegates, students composting, and $1 million allocated for a birdcage elevator. Now, that's not something that you would put in your birdcage. It's a kind of elevator you can see there on the front page where it's kind of built into the staircase. So really neat. If you're into historical architecture and things like that, really interesting story.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, I am looking at the Stratford Star this week. A nice photo of the Booth Memorial Railway Society getting recognized by the town council on Monday night. In some more serious news, a Board of Education member accused of sexual assault. More details on that in this week's Stratford Star. And a fatal crash, more details on that. And a school bus driver charged with selling heroin in Stratford.
Okay, I have the Monroe Courier here, and the top story, a big splash for Special Olympics CT. 36 degrees, a bunch of really brave folks braving the water there in Monroe. Also, speaking of water, the Stevenson Dam Bridge in the process of being replaced, at least the preliminary process. The people that drive across the bridge on Route 34 there, that they've decided that's not really the best way to go. So the Stevenson Dam Bridge will be replaced. And also the DOT offering a new safety plan at Route 110 and Wheeler Road. That's a very accident-prone the intersection's not accident-prone, but it's a lot of accidents take place at that intersection, so some safety upgrades on the way.
All right, well, looking at the Weston Forum this week, a nice story on a foundation created in memory of Victoria McGrath. Now, she was actually injured in the Boston Marathon bombing, and then 2 years later died in a car accident. Well, her family is starting a foundation in her honor, so more details on that. Also, dog park vote passes in Weston, and Weston looking at a 1.69% budget increase.
Okay, well, the Trumbull Times here, we have Police Chief Mike Lombardo praising 4 of his officers for a combination of quick thinking and dogged perseverance. There was a home invasion in town, a gunpoint home invasion actually. A couple of officers with very quick response led to the arrest there, and then also a drive-by shooting that required months of investigative work. Lombardo citing the 4 officers in question for their actions. First Selectman, or former First Selectman, I should say, Tim Herbst, with a bit of a contentious performance at the latest GOP gubernatorial candidates.
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's surprising.
Okay.
Talking about the Dan Malloy and the media in front of the primarily Republican audience, and also Trumbull mock trial, with #1 winning their 4th state championship, as we just read here. So, very interesting, very good job by those kids there.
As you mentioned, it's a dynasty there. All right, well, looking at the Shelton Herald this week, the tragic news in Shelton this week was that a man and a pregnant woman were killed in a River Road crash. More details on that horrible accident. And then an SHS grad starring in an NBC television show, Rise. That's Ellie Desautels. More on that. A retired teacher arrested this week for sexual assault on a student. And the board looking at downtown projects despite some parking issues there.
And finally for me, I have the arts and leisure section with the main story there, Passion Has No Age. It's a documentary there that you're never too old to dream. It's never too late to really take up something that you're passionate about. That is the main story there in the arts and leisure section. We also have some features on wild bees, pirates, and my favorite, bacon-wrapped chicken breasts.
All right, that sounds good. All right, well, I'm taking a quick look at our home section, which is in all our papers this week. Of course, there's a spring theme there, and more on the NC Cares Kitchen and Home Tour, which is a great event, and about plantings. Yes, it is almost time to actually plant things that will grow this time of year.
You don't have to shovel snow out of the way now.
We will get there. We will get there. Well, Don, thanks so much for joining me today.
Great, thanks.
Still a busy day, of course. Now, coming up at noon, we have a brand new episode of Straight Talk with Tracy. She has a special guest talking about the role of men in protecting and stopping violence and discrimination against women. And then at 1 o'clock, we have Yankee Fisherman. And of course, we have Live Lacrosse today at 4 p.m. on the HQ Network. So stay tuned. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break. We'll see you tomorrow with the latest local news and more. Have a great day.